The moment she shouted, "Move your bag right now!" the entire security line went silent. People turned. I didn't even look back. Then she pushed my suitcase with her foot and said, "Some of us have real flights to catch." I slowly turned around. She was already rolling her eyes, tapping her phone, acting like she owned the airport. Her voice was loud on purpose. "You people always block the line," she said, pointing at me like I wasn't even human. A TSA officer glanced over, but she waved him off. "It's fine, I'll handle it," she said with a fake smile. Then she leaned close and whispered, "If you don't move, I'll say you touched me." That's when I froze. Not scared, just shocked. My daughter squeezed my hand tighter. She was only 12 and her eyes were already filling up. Karen smirked when she saw that. "See? Even your kid knows you're wrong." Then she stepped forward and reached toward the yellow security rope, trying to unclip it herself. "I'm not waiting behind him." The rope snapped loose. The line collapsed. Bags tipped over. Someone yelled. And that's when she screamed, "TSA! He did this! Arrest him!" 2 officers rushed in fast. One of them looked straight at me. "Sir, step aside." Karen crossed her arms, smiling like she'd already won. People like him always think rules don't apply. I stayed quiet. Because she had no idea whose bag she had just kicked, and she definitely didn't know what was inside my jacket pocket. Not yet. The officer asked me again to step aside. I nodded and moved slowly, keeping my hands where they could see them. My daughter stayed right behind me. Karen followed too, acting like she was part of the staff now. "She tried to break security," I said calmly. Karen laughed loud. "Wow, now he's lying. Typical." One TSA officer bent down to check the rope. Another started asking questions. Before I could finish my sentence, Karen jumped in again. He got aggressive. "My shoulder still hurts." She even rubbed it like she was in pain. People nearby started whispering. Phones came out. My daughter said softly, "Dad, you didn't do anything." Karen snapped at her. "Stay out of adult business." That's when something changed. The older TSA officer looked at Karen, then at my daughter, then back at me. He didn't speak. He just pointed at the bag Karen had kicked earlier. "Is that yours?" he asked her. She scoffed. "Obviously not." "Why would I touch his stuff?" He nodded slowly. "Because we have it on camera." Her smile dropped for half a second, then came right back. "Go ahead. I did nothing wrong." The officer replayed the footage on a small screen. It clearly showed her unhooking the rope, then kicking my bag forward. The crowd got quiet again. Karen's face turned red. "That proves nothing," she snapped. "He still shouldn't be here. Look at him." The officer's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, step back." She didn't. Instead, she pulled out her phone. "I know people. I'll have your badge for this." That's when another TSA supervisor walked over, looked at me carefully, and froze. He stared at my face for 2 seconds too long. Then he said softly, "Sir, can I see what's in your jacket pocket?" Karen laughed. "Yes, finally." I reached in slowly and handed him my badge. His eyes widened. And suddenly, everyone's tone changed. The supervisor looked at the badge again, then at me. His posture changed instantly. He stood straighter. "Sir, I didn't know you were traveling today." Karen blinked. "What does that even mean?" The officer handed the badge back with both hands. "Thank you for your service." The words hit the air like thunder. People around us leaned in. My daughter finally loosened her grip on my arm. Karen forced a laugh. "So what? He's not above the law." I stayed quiet. "I always did." The supervisor turned to her. "Ma'am, you interfered with the federal security line." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. I was just helping. These lines are always slow." He didn't smile. "You broke protocol. You touched another passenger's property, and you made a false accusation." Her voice got sharp. "He scared me. I felt threatened." The supervisor glanced at my daughter again. "By him?" Karen hesitated. Just for a second. Then she snapped, "Yes." That's when the younger officer spoke for the first time. "Sir, her story doesn't match the footage." Karen's face stiffened. "Are you calling me a liar?" The supervisor nodded once. "Yes." A few people gasped. Someone behind us whispered, "Finally." Karen's voice started shaking now. "This is harassment. I pay taxes. I'll file complaints." The supervisor raised his radio. I need airport police at checkpoint C. Her eyes went wide. For him? She asked quickly. He looked straight at her. No, ma'am. For you. She stepped back. This is insane, I finally spoke. You didn't have to lie. You chose to. She glared at me like she wanted to scream. Then airport police arrived, and one of them stopped when he saw me. Wait, he said slowly. Aren't you the one who trained our unit last year? Karen's phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor, and that's when she realized this was never going the way she planned. The officer stepped closer to me. Sir, I remember you, he said. You taught us how to handle threat scenarios without panic. Karen shook her head fast. No, that's not possible. Airport police turned their attention fully toward her now. One of them asked, Ma'am, please step to the side. She refused. I'm the victim here. He caused all this chaos. My daughter flinched when Karen raised her voice again. That was the moment I lost my calm. Not angry, just firm. Lower your voice. She's a child. Karen scoffed. Then maybe you should teach her not to block people who matter. A few people gasped. Someone muttered, That's messed up. The officer beside her wrote something down. Ma'am, you're being reported for disorderly conduct. She laughed nervously. You can't do that. We already are. Then came the injustice. Another officer reached for my bag. Sir, until this is sorted, we'll need to rescreen you and your belongings. My daughter whispered, Dad, are they taking us off the flight? I nodded slightly. Maybe. Karen smiled again. Quiet this time, satisfied. That's what happens when you cause trouble, she said softly. We were moved to the side. People passed us. The boarding clock kept ticking. Our flight number flashed. Final call? My daughter's eyes filled up. We're going to miss Grandma's surgery. Karen heard that. Her smile didn't fade. Then the supervisor walked back holding a tablet. His face was serious. Sir, he said, we just reviewed something else. I looked up. What is it? He turned the screen slightly so only I could see. It was a live feed from another camera angle, and it showed Karen doing something much worse, something she never thought anyone noticed. The video zoomed in, clear, sharp. It showed Karen earlier, before she reached our line. She was arguing with another passenger. Then she leaned close and slipped something small into his open backpack. The supervisor paused the clip. We stopped the video right there, he said quietly, because that object set off an alert later. My chest tightened. That man was detained for 30 minutes, he continued, and he had nothing illegal on him before she touched his bag. I looked at Karen. She was pale now. That's a serious federal offense, the officer said. Interfering with security screening. Karen laughed weakly. You're twisting things. The supervisor nodded toward the screen. We have your fingerprints on the item. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. Airport police stepped closer. One gently took her arm. Ma'am, you need to come with us. She screamed. This is discrimination. He planned this, and pointed straight at me. I shook my head. I didn't even know your name. My daughter whispered, Dad, is she going to jail? I didn't answer. I just pulled her closer. Karen tried to pull away. You can't do this in front of everyone. The supervisor replied calmly. You chose to do it in front of everyone. As they started walking her away, she suddenly shouted, Wait! Everyone turned. She pointed at me again. His bag! Check his bag again! He's hiding something. The officers stopped. The supervisor looked at me. Sir, one last scan. I nodded. Of course. They ran my bag, clear. Then I opened my jacket and took out one more card. Not the badge. A small laminated pass with an eagle seal. The supervisor's eyes widened even more than before. He whispered, Sir, your Homeland liaison? I said quietly. Only when things go wrong. Karen collapsed to her knees as they pulled her away, and I thought it was finally over. But the real shock hadn't happened yet. They took Karen down the hallway, still yelling, still blaming everyone but herself. The noise slowly faded, but the checkpoint stayed silent. Nobody moved. Then the supervisor looked at me again. Sir, I'm sorry about the delay. I checked the board. Our flight was gone. My daughter's shoulders dropped. We missed it. Before I could speak, the supervisor picked up his radio. Hold all traffic at gate 32. A minute later, a man in a dark suit hurried over. No badge on his neck, just confidence. Which passenger? The supervisor nodded toward me. The man extended his hand. I'm airport operations. We'll fix this. Karen was already gone, but her damage was still there. Then something unexpected happened. A woman from the crowd stepped forward. Excuse me, she said. I recorded everything. She held up her phone. Her lies. Her threats. All of it. More people followed. 3, 4, even 5 phones raised. She did the same to me last year, someone said. Another voice added, she always cuts lines and screams at staff. The officer looked stunned. You're saying this wasn't the first time? The woman shook her head. Not even close. I felt my daughter squeeze my hand again, but this time it was different. She wasn't scared. She was proud. The man in the suit turned to me. Sir, your flight will be held personally. I blinked. That's not necessary. He smiled slightly. It is today. As we started walking toward a private lane, I thought that was the end. But just before we turned the corner, a radio crackled loudly behind us. Attention all units, a voice said. The woman detained earlier. She's claiming you threatened her family. I stopped walking. Slowly turned back. Because now she wasn't just lying anymore. She was trying. To pull my family into it, I turned back and felt my daughter's hand tighten again. The hallway felt colder now. The officer on the radio repeated it. She says he told her, people like you don't leave airports alive. That was the line. The supervisor looked shocked. That's a serious claim. I took a slow breath. I never said that. My daughter looked up at me. Dad, I was right there. The man in the suit raised his hand. Everyone pause. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled out his phone and opened a secured app. Play audio log from checkpoint C, timestamp 1442. A clear voice filled the hallway. Karen's voice. If you don't move, I'll say you threatened me. They always believe me. The sound echoed. Nobody spoke. The supervisor closed his eyes for a second. She planned it. Airport police nodded. That's false reporting on top of everything else. My daughter whispered, she said it out loud. I bent down slightly. Yes, and that's why the truth wins. The man in the suit looked at the officers. Add intimidation of a minor, one officer muttered. That's not going to end well for her. Then another radio call came in. Update. The woman is now resisting and attempting to claim medical emergency. The supervisor sighed. Every time. I looked at my daughter. You okay? She nodded. I just want to see Grandma. The man in the suit turned to us. You will. He leaned closer and said quietly, and she will never step inside this airport again. As we walked again, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think you won? This isn't over. I stopped, because Karen wasn't near me anymore. So how did she still have my number? My heart skipped for a second when I saw the message. I showed it to the officer beside me. He didn't panic. He just nodded once. She accessed passenger data earlier, he said. That confirms intent. Within minutes, her phone was traced. She hadn't gone far. She was still inside the holding area, still trying to talk her way out. This time, it didn't work. When they brought her past us, she didn't scream anymore. She didn't threaten. She couldn't even look up. The supervisor spoke calmly. You're being charged for security interference, false reporting, intimidation of a minor, and misuse of protected information. Karen whispered, I just wanted to be first. Nobody answered her. My daughter watched quietly as they walked her away for good. A few minutes later, we boarded our flight. Not rushed, not scared, just calm. As we sat down, my daughter leaned on my shoulder. Dad, you didn't even yell at her. I smiled softly. Real strength doesn't need noise. Outside the window, the flag near the runway moved slowly in the wind. I looked at it and thought about something my father once told me. You don't fight for power. You fight so your family can stand without fear. The plane started moving, and for the first time that day, everything felt quiet again. Because freedom isn't cutting the line, it's knowing the line protects everyone.